From the Columbo Organization and their shady schemes to the Gambino family, who are so ruthless they'd make even the toughest men cry, you'd think the concept of mafia families died with the government crackdown of the 90s and only exists today as a relic from the silver screen. Well, you're wrong, and in this video, I will show you why. Many of them are still, in fact, ruling and have created a parallel underworld government in Washington. Columbo Organization. Frank Columbo Sr. began his criminal endeavors in the 1950s, operating cigarette and jukebox vending machines in Seattle. These businesses quickly became lucrative fronts for skimming money, laying the groundwork for his later ventures into organized crime. In 1957, Columbo expanded his operations to Portland, partnering with crime figure James Big Jim Elkins to open prostitution houses. The 1960s saw him open topless clubs in Seattle, furthering his grip on the city's underworld. But a key moment came in the 1970s when he met with Banano crime family member Salvatore Bill Banano in Yakima, Washington. When questioned about the meeting, Columbo famously quipped, "I went to Yakima to pick hot peppers, but I didn't pick no bananas," a sly reference to the Banano family. In 2003, a criminal investigation dubbed Strippergate targeted Columbo's strip clubs, which were revealed to be fronts for brothels. By 2009, Columbo Sr., his son Frank Jr., and several associates were indicted for conspiracy and racketeering. Columbo Sr. died in 2010 at the age of 93. Later that year, Frank Jr. was sentenced to prison, fined $1.3 million, and ordered to forfeit over $6 million in assets, marking the downfall of the Columbo crime family. Another mafia family in the U.S. is the Gambino crime family. Gambino Family. As of 2024, the Gambino crime family remains an active force in organized crime, but it has faced significant setbacks in recent months due to law enforcement crackdowns. In a series of operations coordinated between U.S. and Italian authorities, several members and associates of the Gambino family were arrested and charged with a range of offenses, including racketeering, extortion, and violent assaults. These charges are linked to their attempts to dominate industries such as waste management and demolition in New York City, using intimidation and violence to secure their influence. Also, another investigation led to the indictment of 17 individuals connected to the Gambino family for running illegal gambling and loan sharking operations. This included high-ranking members who were involved in schemes that drained millions of dollars from New Yorkers through usury and mortgage fraud. The combination of these legal actions has weakened the Gambino family's hold on various criminal enterprises, but they remain a significant player in the New York metropolitan area's organized crime scene. Another family that is a member of the crime family ruling the U.S. is the Genovesi Family. As one of New York's notorious five families, it remains active and continues to exert influence in organized crime. Recent developments indicate that the family is deeply involved in various illegal activities, including racketeering, loan sharking, illegal gambling, and money laundering. In 2023 and 2024, several key members and associates of the Genovesi family faced some legal actions. For instance, in early 2023, multiple members, including high-ranking figures like Captains Nicholas Calisi and Ralph Balsamo, pleaded guilty to racketeering charges. Their criminal activities included extortion, illegal gambling operations, and involvement in violent crimes designed to maintain their control over these illicit enterprises. These convictions are part of ongoing efforts by law enforcement to dismantle the family's operations. Additionally, the family has been implicated in a large-scale illegal gambling operation in New Jersey and New York, involving offshore betting sites and money laundering through check-cashing businesses. This operation, uncovered through Operation Fistful, has led to further indictments and arrests, reflecting the family's continued involvement in traditional mafia activities, despite increasing law enforcement scrutiny. The Genovesi family, while weakened by these legal challenges, remains a formidable presence in the underworld, with ongoing investigations targeting its operations across the East Coast. They say crime never dies, and our next crime family is not dead yet. Lisi Family. The Lisi crime family, a prominent part of New York's organized crime scene, continues to operate despite facing significant legal setbacks. Founded in the early 20th century, the family has a long history of engaging in various illicit activities, including loan sharking, illegal gambling, extortion, and racketeering. In recent years, high-ranking members of the Lisi family have been convicted of serious crimes. One notable case involved Nicodemo Scarfo, a powerful figure within the family who attempted a hostile takeover of a publicly traded company. Scarfo and his associates used threats and intimidation to seize control, subsequently looting millions of dollars from the company through fraudulent means. The money was used to fund lavish lifestyles, including luxury homes, expensive cars, and yachts. As a result of these actions, Scarfo was sentenced to 30 years in prison, and the family faced substantial financial penalties. Despite these setbacks, the Lucchese family remains active in traditional mafia enterprises. However, their operations are under constant surveillance by law enforcement agencies, making it increasingly difficult for them to maintain the level of influence they once had. The family's enduring presence in organized crime demonstrates their resilience, but also highlights the ongoing efforts to dismantle their criminal empire. But living in the USA, there is no shortage of crime families. As one falls, there is another to take its place. Another family that exists in the shadows is the Banano Family. The Banano crime family, one of New York's 5 families, remains an active force in organized crime, despite law enforcement efforts to dismantle their operations. Recent activities have seen the family involved in illegal gambling, extortion, and money laundering. Key figures like Anthony Pipitone, a Banano captain, have been indicted for their roles in these illicit operations. The Banano family has also collaborated with other mafia families, notably the Genovesi family, to run underground gambling parlors, generating substantial profits through these ventures. Despite numerous arrests and convictions, the Banano family continues to adapt and maintain its influence within the underworld. Their operations have shifted to include more modern methods of generating income, yet they still rely on traditional mafia activities to sustain their power. Law enforcement remains vigilant, continuously targeting the family's operations, which has weakened their overall structure, but has not yet eliminated their presence in organized crime. Another crime family that still has a presence is the Columbo family. Columbo Family. The Columbo crime family, one of New York's infamous 5 families, remains active and influential in organized crime, despite facing continuous legal challenges. Founded in the early 20th century, the family has a long history of involvement in illegal activities such as loan sharking, extortion, and racketeering. In recent years, law enforcement efforts have targeted the Columbo family, leading to the arrests and convictions of several high-ranking members. These efforts have focused on dismantling the family's control over various criminal enterprises, which have included not only traditional mafia activities, but also more modern schemes designed to generate revenue. Despite these legal pressures, the Columbo family has demonstrated a remarkable ability to adapt and survive. Their resilience can be attributed to their deep-rooted connections within the criminal underworld and their ability to evolve with the changing landscape of organized crime. While their overall power has diminished due to persistent law enforcement efforts, the Columbo family continues to operate in the shadows, maintaining influence within their established territories and seeking new ways to exploit illegal opportunities. The family's current activities suggest that, while weakened, they are far from being eradicated. The persistence of the Columbo family shows the challenges that authorities face in their ongoing efforts to dismantle organized crime in New York. Chicago outfit, Chicago. The Chicago outfit, also known as the Chicago Mafia, or simply the Outfit, is one of the most notorious organized crime families in the United States, with roots tracing back to the early 20th century. Unlike the 5 families of New York, the Chicago Outfit has operated as a single dominant family, known for its ruthless enforcement of control over various illegal enterprises. The Outfit rose to prominence during the Prohibition era under the leadership of Johnny Torrio and later Al Capone. Capone's reign was marked by infamous events like the St. Valentine's Day Massacre in 1929, where 7 members of the rival North Side gang were gunned down in a brutal display of power. This massacre drew significant public and law enforcement attention to the Outfit, leading to Capone's eventual imprisonment for tax evasion in 1931. After Capone, the Outfit continued to thrive under leaders like Frank the Enforcer Nitti and Paul the Waiter Rica, who expanded the organization's influence beyond Chicago into places like Las Vegas and Hollywood. The Outfit's criminal activities included bootlegging, gambling, prostitution, and labor racketeering. By the mid-20th century, they had entrenched themselves in legitimate businesses, using them to launder money from their illicit operations. One of the most significant blows to the Chicago Outfit came with Operation Family Secrets, an FBI investigation launched in 1999. This operation was unique because it involved Frank Calabrese Jr., the son of a high-ranking Outfit member, turning informant against his father, Frank Calabrese Sr. The investigation led to the conviction of several key figures in the Outfit for crimes including multiple murders dating dating back to the 1970s. The successful prosecution in this case marked a turning point, significantly weakening the outfit's power, although it still remains a presence in Chicago's criminal underworld. Today, the Chicago outfit no longer holds the power it once did, but it continues to be involved in various illegal activities, particularly racketeering and gambling. The decline in influence is attributed to relentless law enforcement efforts and the natural attrition of its leadership. While the Chicago outfit seemed to be in decline, the Patriarca family seemed to be going strong. Patriarca Family, New England. The Patriarca crime family, also known as the New England Mafia, was one of the most powerful criminal organizations in the U.S., primarily operating in New England. Led by Raymond L.S. Patriarca from the 1950s until his death in 1984, the family controlled a vast array of illegal activities, including gambling, extortion, loan sharking, and murder for hire. Patriarca ran his operations from a Providence, Rhode Island storefront, using legitimate businesses as fronts for money laundering and other criminal enterprises. He maintained strict control over New England's underworld, forbidding other mafia families from operating in his territory without his permission. Despite his efforts to keep a low profile, Patriarca's empire began to unravel in the 1960s. A key moment in the family's decline came when hitman Joseph the Animal Barboza testified against Patriarca, leading to his conviction for murder conspiracy. Although the family continued to operate after Patriarca's death, its power significantly waned due to persistent law enforcement pressure and internal strife. The Patriarca family remains active today, but with far less influence than during its peak. Decavalcante Family, New Jersey. The Decavalcante crime family, often referred to as the North Jersey Mafia, is one of the oldest Italian-American mafia families in the U.S., with its origins dating back to the early 20th century. Under the leadership of Simone "Sam the Plumber" Decavalcante in the 1960s, the family became notorious for its extensive criminal operations, including illegal gambling, labor racketeering, loan sharking, and murder. Decavalcante used a plumbing business as a front for his illicit activities, which generated millions of dollars annually. However, his criminal empire began to unravel after the FBI installed a listening device in his office, leading to his conviction and imprisonment in 1969. Following Decavalcante's imprisonment, John Riggi took over as boss, further expanding the family's influence through control of labor unions and maintaining strong ties with the Gambino crime family in New York. Riggi's leadership saw the family continue to prosper, but by the 1990s, increased law enforcement pressure and internal strife began to erode its power. The family's decline accelerated when key members, such as Vincent Palermo, turned informant, leading to a series of arrests and convictions that significantly weakened its structure. Another mafia family we would like to talk about is the Detroit Partnership. Detroit Partnership, Detroit. The Detroit Partnership, also known as the Detroit Mafia, is one of the oldest and most enduring mafia families in the United States. Founded in the early 20th century, the family rose to prominence during the Prohibition era, capitalizing on the lucrative illegal liquor trade. Over the decades, the Detroit Mafia expanded its operations to include gambling, labor racketeering, drug trafficking, and other illicit activities. Under the leadership of figures like Joseph Zerilli and Jack Taco, the Detroit Partnership maintained a significant degree of stability and avoided many of the internal conflicts and law enforcement infiltrations that plagued other mafia families. This stability was partly due to a strict code of loyalty enforced by intermarriage within the organization. The family's influence extended beyond Detroit, with strong connections to other mafia families across the country. One of the most notorious events associated with the Detroit Mafia is the disappearance of labor leader Jimmy Hoffa in 1975, which remains one of the most famous unsolved mysteries in American history. The FBI has long suspected that members of the Detroit Mafia were involved in Hoffa's disappearance. Despite the decline of traditional organized crime in the U.S., the Detroit Mafia continues to operate, albeit on a smaller scale, remaining a shadowy presence in the underworld. The family's ability to adapt and maintain its operations quietly has allowed it to survive while other crime families have faded. Our next crime family is also operating quietly. Philadelphia Crime Family, Philadelphia. The Philadelphia crime family, also known as the Bruno Scarfo crime family, is one of the most infamous mafia organizations in the United States, with deep roots in Philadelphia and southern New Jersey. The family's origins date back to the early 20th century, but it gained significant power under the leadership of Angelo Bruno, who led the organization from 1959 until his assassination in 1980. Bruno was known as the Gentle Don for his preference for diplomacy over violence, which allowed him to maintain relative stability within the family and avoid the intense law enforcement enforcement scrutiny that plagued other mafia organizations. After Bruno's death, the family descended into chaos and violence under the leadership of Nicodemo, Little Nicky Scarfo, who ruled with an iron fist during the 1980s. Scarfo's reign was marked by extreme violence, leading to numerous murders both within and outside the organization, earning the family a reputation as one of the most violent mafia groups in the country. In the 1990s, the family experienced further turmoil during a brutal internal war between factions led by John Stanfa and Joey Merlino. Merlino eventually emerged victorious and became the de facto leader of the family, though his high-profile lifestyle and frequent run-ins with the law attracted significant media and law enforcement attention. Today, despite numerous indictments and convictions, the Philadelphia Mafia continues to operate, though with diminished influence. Recent years have seen indictments against key members, including the 2020 arrest of 15 members and associates on charges ranging from racketeering to drug trafficking and extortion. Next, we will go to Italy, where these families originated and where they still share some affiliations with. Corleonesi Clan. The Corleonesi were initially just one of many mafia families in Sicily, but under the leadership of Luciano Leggio, followed by Salvatore Toto Riina and Bernardo Provenzano, they rose to dominate the Sicilian mafia. Their ascent began in the 1970s and was characterized by extreme violence, including a campaign known as the Second Mafia War, or the Matanza slaughter, in which they systematically eliminated rival mafia families and consolidated power. This war, which took place between 1981 and 1983, resulted in the deaths of hundreds of mafia members, as well as judges, politicians, and civilians caught in the crossfire. Salvatore Toto Riina became the undisputed leader of the Corleonesi and the Sicilian Mafia in the 1980s. Riina was known for his ruthlessness and is often considered one of the most brutal mafia bosses in history. He ordered the assassinations of high-profile anti-mafia figures, including judges Giovanni Falcone and Paolo Borsellino in 1992, in an attempt to intimidate the Italian state. However, these murders backfired, leading to a massive crackdown on the mafia by Italian law enforcement. Riina was eventually captured in 1993, and his arrest marked the beginning of the decline of the Corleonesi's dominance. Bernardo Provenzano, Riina's successor, continued to lead the clan in a more low-profile manner until his arrest in 2006. With the arrests of these key figures, the Corleonesi's influence within the mafia has diminished, though the clan still exists. The crackdown following Riina's reign significantly weakened Cosa Nostra as a whole, although the organization remains active to this day. Another family that still remains active is the Santa Maria di Gesu. Santa Maria di Gesu Family. The Santa Maria di Gesu family gained prominence in the mid-20th century under the leadership of figures like Giuseppe Pippo Calo. Calo, known as the Mafia's cashier, was one of the most influential mafia figures in Sicily and was heavily involved in the heroin trade and money laundering. He was also implicated in the 1980 bombing of a train in Italy that killed 85 people, a stark example of the Mafia's reach and brutality during that period. The family's power has fluctuated over the years, especially during the height of the Mafia wars in the 1980s. The Santa Maria di Gesu clan was involved in various conflicts with rival families, which were part of the larger power struggles within Cosa Nostra. The clan's influence waned during the crackdown on the mafia in the 1990s, particularly after the arrest of key leaders. In more recent years, the Santa Maria di Gesu family has seen attempts to reassert its influence, albeit under the watchful eye of Italian law enforcement. Several members of the family have been arrested in operations aimed at dismantling mafia activities in Palermo. Despite these efforts, the family remains active, continuing its involvement in traditional mafia activities such as extortion, drug trafficking, and loan sharking. Our next family is also involved in some of the trademark crime family business. DeStefano and Andrina. The DeStefano andrina gained significant influence in the 1970s under the leadership of Paolo DeStefano. Originally, the family was not among the most powerful clans in the 'Ndrangheta, but through strategic alliances and brutal force, Paolo DeStefano elevated the clan's status. The family became particularly powerful in the city of Reggio Calabria, where they established a stronghold. The DeStefano clan played a central role in the First 'Ndrangheta War, 1974 to 1977, which was a bloody conflict between rival 'Ndrangheta factions. The war resulted in the deaths of many members of the DeStefano clan, but it also solidified their power by eliminating rivals and establishing the DeStefanos as dominant players in the region. This war marked a significant turning point for the clan, leading to their rise as one of the leading 'Ndrangheta families. The DeStefano andrina has been involved in various criminal enterprises, including drug trafficking, extortion, money laundering, and arms smuggling. Their reach extends beyond Calabria, with significant influence in northern Italy and connections to international drug drug trafficking networks. The clan has also been involved in politics and business, often infiltrating legitimate enterprises to launder money and expand their influence. This ability to blend criminal activities with legitimate business operations has been a hallmark of their success. The DeStefano clan's power has fluctuated over the years, particularly after the assassination of Paolo DeStefano in 1985 during the Second 'Ndrangheta War. This event led to internal struggles and conflicts with rival clans. Despite these challenges, the DeStefano andrina has managed to maintain its influence within the 'Ndrangheta hierarchy. In recent years, Italian law enforcement has targeted the DeStefano clan, leading to numerous arrests and convictions. However, like many 'Ndrangheta clans, the DeStefanos have shown a remarkable ability to adapt and survive, continuing their criminal activities despite these setbacks. Our next crime family has also managed despite the setbacks. Mancuso andrina. The Mancuso andrina hails from the town of Limbadi in the province of Vibo Valentia, Calabria. The clan rose to prominence in the latter half of the 20th century, particularly under the leadership of Giuseppe Mancuso, also known as Pepe, who played a crucial role in establishing the family's dominance in the region. The Mancuso clan is part of a broader alliance within the 'Ndrangheta, which includes other powerful clans from the Vibo Valentia area. The Mancuso clan is deeply involved in various criminal enterprises, with drug trafficking being one of their primary sources of income. They have established strong connections with international drug trafficking networks, particularly in South America, allowing them to import large quantities of cocaine into Europe. In addition to drug trafficking, the Mancusos are involved in extortion, loan sharking, and money laundering. Their influence extends beyond Calabria, with operations in northern Italy and even abroad. Like many 'Ndrangheta clans, the Mancuso andrina has been plagued by internal conflicts, often leading to violent feuds within the family and with rival clans. These conflicts have occasionally weakened the clan, but have also demonstrated the brutality with which they maintain control. In recent years, Italian law enforcement has intensified its efforts against the 'Ndrangheta, leading to the arrests of numerous Mancuso family members. Despite these efforts, the clan remains a significant force within the 'Ndrangheta. In recent years, several high-profile operations have targeted the Mancuso clan. For example, the Rinascita Scott operation, launched in December 2019, was one of the largest anti-mafia operations in Italy's history. It led to the arrest of over 330 individuals, many of whom were linked to the Mancuso clan, including Luigi Mancuso, a key figure within the organization. Despite these arrests, the clan continues to operate, adapting to law enforcement pressures while maintaining its influence in both criminal and legitimate enterprises. That is not all of the crime families we have for you. We have more. Buffalo crime family, the Magadino family. The Magadino family was established in the early 20th century, with Stefano Magadino emerging as its most prominent leader. Magadino, who emigrated from Sicily, became the boss of the Buffalo family in the 1920s. He quickly established himself as a powerful figure within the American Mafia, earning a seat on the Commission, the governing body of the Mafia in the U.S., under the leadership of Charles Lucky Luciano. Magadino's influence extended beyond Buffalo, with his reach stretching into Canada and throughout the Midwest. The family was heavily involved in various criminal enterprises, including bootlegging during Prohibition, loan sharking, extortion, and narcotics trafficking. The Buffalo crime family also had significant control over labor unions, which they used to extort businesses and launder money. The family remained powerful for several decades, but internal conflicts and external pressures began to weaken its grip in the latter half of the 20th century. One of the key events that marked the decline of the Magadino family was the infamous Appalachian meeting in 1957. This summit of mafia leaders from across the country, hosted by Joseph Barbara in Appalachian, New York, was raided by law enforcement, leading to the arrest of many top mafia figures, including Stefano Magadino. The fallout from this event brought increased law enforcement scrutiny on the mafia, including the Buffalo family, in the 1960s. Internal strife within the Magadino family further eroded its power. A split between Stefano Magadino and his younger associates led to a violent internal feud, weakening the family's structure. Magadino's death in 1974 marked the end of an era, and the family never regained its former power. While this crime family sort of faded, our next crime family never really has. Pittsburgh crime family. The Pittsburgh crime family traces its roots back to the early 20th century during the wave of Italian immigration to the United States. The family initially operated as a loose collection of Italian-American gangs involved in petty crimes, but it began to consolidate power under the leadership of Sebastian Big John LaRocca, who became the boss in the 1950s. LaRocca, who had strong connections with other mafia families across the country, particularly in New York and Chicago, was instrumental in organizing and formalizing the Pittsburgh family's operations. Under his leadership, the family expanded its influence, particularly in the gambling industry, controlling many of the illegal gambling operations in the region. LaRocca's tenure also saw the family gain a seat on the National Mafia Commission, solidifying its status within the broader American Mafia. During the 1960s and 1970s, the Pittsburgh crime family continued to thrive under the leadership of LaRocca and his successors, including Johnny LaRocca and Michael Genovesi, not to be confused with the New York Genovesi family. The family was heavily involved in organized labor, using their influence over unions to extort businesses and secure lucrative contracts. Their operations extended into Ohio, West Virginia, and other nearby states. The Pittsburgh family also maintained a strong alliance with the Cleveland crime family and had ties to various other mafia organizations throughout the Midwest and East Coast. Despite their smaller size compared to other families, the Pittsburgh Mafia was respected for its discipline and ability to avoid internal conflicts that plagued other mafia groups. To meet our next crime family, we have to go to Cleveland. Cleveland crime family, the Decavalcante family. The origins of the Cleveland crime family date back to the early 20th century, as Italian immigrants settled in Cleveland and established criminal enterprises. The family initially engaged in small-scale operations such as extortion, loan sharking, and illegal gambling. By the 1920s, the family had become more organized under the leadership of Joseph Big Joe Leonardo, who was involved in bootlegging during Prohibition. However, the family's prominence grew significantly under the leadership of Joseph Joe Licavoli, who took control in the 1930s after a violent power struggle known as the Cleveland Mafia Wars. The Licavoli brothers, particularly Joe and his brother John, consolidated their power through alliances with other mafia families, especially those in Detroit and Buffalo. This period marked the beginning of the family's most powerful era, during which they controlled numerous criminal activities in the region, including gambling, labor racketeering, and drug trafficking. During the mid-20th century, the Cleveland crime family was a formidable force in organized crime. They had strong ties with other Midwest Mafia families and were involved in various illegal activities, including controlling unions, extortion, and narcotics. The family also had significant influence in Las Vegas, particularly in the management of casinos and skimming operations, in collaboration with other Mafia families from Chicago and Kansas City. One of the most notorious events linked to the Cleveland Mafia was the bombing of Danny Green, an Irish-American mobster who challenged the family's control over Cleveland's criminal rackets. Green's death in 1977 marked the beginning of the end for the Cleveland Mafia's dominance, as it led to increased law enforcement scrutiny and internal conflict within the family. That brings us to the end of this video. For more interesting videos like this, click on the cards on your screen.